I'm Shalom. I'm a rabbi here at the congregation, not the rabbi, just a congregant, a Jew in the pew, and also members next door as well. And we're here this morning to study Parshat Pinchas, okay? We've studied this every year around this time, right around
and
the
every
time.
holiday and every new moon.
Correct, right around the time of Tisha B'Av, so the 9th of Av. Okay, so we're going to start with a prayer, a blessing for Torah study. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'matav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah. Okay, so who can tell me what page we're going to be on this morning?
Probably 932.
918, very good.
932 is the one where you for all the Haftorahs. I mean, the
Okay.
monsters.
All right, and somebody's going to have to keep track of time for me also because I'm helping to read Parshat Pinchas from the Torah next door here. So more about this time. We call it the 3 weeks. So what are the 3 weeks between? What are the two bookmarks of this sad period?
Oh, the two fast. The two feasts.
The 17th. So Isaiah says it's the fast of the 4th month and the fast of the 5th month. So the fast of the 4th month is the 17th of the Hebrew month, Tammuz. Okay, what are we commemorating? What happened to our people? What destruction befell upon us? The Romans. Exactly. The Romans were inflicted upon us, and they knocked down the walls protecting God's holy city of Jerusalem.
But you know, the real what I've been heard.
So by the way, the temple wasn't destroyed yet, right? 3 more weeks, and then what happens on Tisha B'Av? The temple was destroyed, right?
Yeah, what I was going to say is, Tammuz. Yes, the walls were breached, but the real catastrophe was they could no longer do the Tamid sacrifice.
Correct. So a number of things happened on. Thank you, Ron. The daily sacrifice, the Tamid sacrifice. More about sacrifices in this week's parsha. Was what they couldn't do it anymore. Also, now I don't know when this exactly happened. I have sometimes trouble between earlier and later. The Torah does too. More about that in a little while. But there was a scroll of the Torah which was burnt on this day, the 17th of Tammuz. There was an idol, Apostamus. I guess he was an apostate. Put up an idol. So I don't know exactly when he lived. But these are traditions of terrible things which happened on the 17th of Tammuz. So it was what we call a sunrise to sunset minor fast day, and yeah, it was a tough time. Also, we had the golden calf, the Chet HaEgel, right? So we have all kinds of traditions of challenges, spiritual challenges, physical challenges, destruction of Torah, destruction of sacrifices, almost destruction of the temple, coming up to from the 17th through the 3 weeks. So what are some of the prohibitions that our tradition brings us? How are we supposed to remember this sad time? What are some things that might be enjoyable that maybe we would do less of? Please.
No music.
No music. So concerts, weddings also. Okay, absolutely. Okay. So we're gonna start there. It's a sad time for our people. So I would like to share with you a little bit about something that we were doing the last couple weeks in our family. And maybe as we go around, y'all want to share something that you're doing during this time, either the last couple weeks or the next couple weeks, that you find spiritually uplifting. Okay, so it's a time of national sorrow, but that doesn't mean we can't do things in our families for ourselves that help to counteract some of this prevailing, because frankly, it's a sad time all around. Olympics aside, our people, our nation is at war right now. There's another nation in Gaza looking to destroy us. And we've been fighting this war for almost a year, right? It's not always an easy time, right? In fact, I'm going to dedicate our class to one of the Israeli hostages, this young woman, Ruth Hodiah Perez HaKohen. So Ruth just wanted to go sing and dance. She's in a wheelchair, as you could see. She was born with some challenges. And what she loves is music, just uplifting. And she was at they call it the Nova It was basically like like a Sukkot music festival. They have it in the yeah, it's basically right. A bunch of drugs there, right? Whatever. They have it in the desert every year near Gaza. She was there dancing, and now she's been in a tunnel somewhere for 9 months. Okay, so what are some things that we can do to help to alleviate some of this sadness? It's sadness on sadness getting piled up. Okay, so we're going to go around, say one thing. Okay, so my name is, and one thing which tends to be uplifting. Okay, personally, it could be nationally too, but personally. So I'll start. So I'm Shalom. So yes, it is traditionally a nice time to take vacation for rabbis. It's particularly a nice time for me because one of my daughters is at Camp Ramah, brightest star of the conservative movement, by the way, the Ramah camps, lovely camps. The second one is teaching special needs kids like Ruth Hodaya, multiply handicapped children at Tikva, which means hope, Tikva, at a different Ramah camp. This one's in Georgia, Ramah Darom. So with no kids around, my wife and I decided, you know what? We've got some managers in place for our right at home business. You know, let's go to Alaska. Let's go to the edge of our country. We didn't really want to do international travel at this time. Lots of anti-Semitism around, whatever. We're just going to stay in the United States, and we're going to see some beauty, right? See what God made. Alaska, by the way, is bigger than Texas, right? Like twice as big. It's huge. We only saw a tiny little fraction of it, but what I saw was gorgeous. And we had Shabbat amongst the bears. They're brown bears, not grizzly bears, not polar bears. Amongst the salmon, which, by the way, are delicious. Okay, I went fishing. Maybe I'll tell fish stories later. They get bigger every time I tell them. So we saw ferns and lichens. We saw glaciers and seals. 2 kinds of whales. Anybody want to guess what we saw? Humpback whales and orca killer whales, right? The ones that eat the seals. Exactly. So we had a tremendous time, and we had a chance to look. And the natives were davening there for years. I could see the totem poles on the seashore, you know, with the spirits of their ancestors, you know, bears and eagles and whatever else there is. So yeah, so we had a lovely time. Came back. So for me, something uplifting during this time. We went before the 9 days. Did plenty of swimming. I even did a polar bear plunge. Was just, you know, a chance to see some of God's creation that we hadn't seen before and recognize the power and the glory of Hashem. Okay, who wants, so say your name and then say, can we start with the people on TV because I always forget about them. Who's online right now?
No.
Nelson, Ivan, come on. What's something uplifting? You have to take off the mute button.
My wife was in the hospital and she's back home.
Mazel tov. Thank
Getting
God.
well is uplifting.
She should continue to be strong and at home and feeling better. Amen. Anybody? Ivan, you want to jump in also? Who's that?
Mrs. Ivan. Mrs. Ivan.
This is Ivan.
Is that Shira?
No, this is Roz.
Hi, Roz.
It's just like Torah.
So what's something uplifting, Roz, that we can do for ourselves in our own house, in our own family, for ourselves during this time?
I like listening to music,
Okay.
playing music. It's uplifting for me and my family.
Beautiful. Thank you. Anybody else from TV land want to jump in with us? I didn't hear from Ivan or who? Helena's on there?
Helena's on there.
Okay. All right. So now, we're going to go starting over here. Y'all can just pass and skip if you don't want to. So please.
Jackie Friedman.
Something uplifting, Jackie?
I've been tending to the flowers I've planted in pots.
The flowers are blooming. Beautiful. Even though it's been very dry here, we've had a drought, right? But you must be taking care of them.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, since you started out with the negative things in the month of Tammuz,
Yes.
unfortunately, you couldn't help but thinking of 2 negative things that happened.
No, we're looking for uplifting right now. Uplifting.
I'm getting to the other in a moment.
Oh, okay.
I have something uplifting.
Please, Halim.
Anyhow, I lost my wife and my mother-in-law 10 days apart this in Tammuz. However, my wife is from Toronto, and I'm going up there to visit some of her relatives and do some of the uplifting things that we did in the past. So starting with the negative, working toward the positive.
Lovely. So it's some time with family.
Yeah.
Time with, beautiful.
Something
name is?
uplifting, the beautiful.
Elliot.
Sinner, not sinner,
Okay.
with a Z.
Elliot, the singer, not the sinner. Okay.
Something uplifting.
Yes, please.
The beautiful show from Paris yesterday.
Aha. So you watched some of the Olympics.
Yeah,
I thought
all
it was getting rained out
afternoon.
over there.
All afternoon. It was wonderful.
Oh, they were rain. The show must go on. It's Paris. Okay, please. So my name is
Barry.
Barry. Okay.
I talked to him, things were doing well, both his friend, very good mission, and so I did better.
So talking to your son from Jerusalem, you're worried about him, but he's doing great. So that makes you feel good. So continuing with Elliot's theme of continuing some, family connections. Okay.
I'm very up to date. Walked the show on Shabbat, and my dominating all the birds, squirrels, rabbits, deer, all the people that walk by me, and everybody says, God, with Shalom, that it's quite
So the birds and the squirrels are also singing along with the flowers and the orcas and the humpbacks. Okay, so continuing the nature theme, what else is uplifting?
Oh, now.
Thank you, Ron.
Yeah.
So now we got a microphone so y'all can hear a little
Yeah,
bit better, hopefully.
Yeah, you probably could hear me now. Tonight we're going out with some friends and then over to the theater. And I always-
Okay, a
always
little
find
bit
that-
of theater,
Mm.
maybe some intellectual, entertainment.
Right.
And friends.
Say your name.
Oh, my name is Harvey Wasserman.
Thank you,
Who doesn't know me?
Okay, very good. And my name's Yingli Walensky. The uplifting things I did this week, or past week, actually was with my family. We went to the Headland Beach in Mantor. That was really nice. Yeah.
What beach was it, Yingling?
Headland.
Oh, Headlands.
Beach,
Oh,
yeah.
so like towards the amusement park.
Not really, not really. Yeah,
Oh, it's in Lake County?
yeah. yeah.
Okay, so Headlands is like a natural dune coming down to Lake Erie, so.
Mentor in Mentor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mentor headlands.
Mentor Headlands, okay, very nice.
Mentor.
I've been there, I thought, what's the beach over by Sandusky? What's that one?
Cedar Point.
Right, near Cedar Point, there's a beach there too. Mentor Headlands is closer and nicer, okay,
Oh, yeah.
okay,
That's
Oh,
family. beach.
okay. But that sounds also like, just like a nice place to go and enjoy some nature and, yes, please.
Judy Friedman, always family and friends, and the past 2 weeks, art shows and music.
Also, okay, along with Elliot, so we have some shows, some shows of art, some shows of theater. Beautiful, okay. More things that are
Sheila-
uplifting during a tough-
Sheila, heck, I've been in the pool all week.
Okay, so the Rebbitzin says it's a good time to swim. It's good for your health. It's relaxing. Maybe you even see a friend over there. No whales in the pool. Okay.
Michael Lowenstein, picking up from Jackie, Flowers in the Garden.
Thank you. Look what you started here.
But
Jackie has a flower. I don't know if you can see it from there, but she has a pretty yellow jacket and a flower on.
yes, and picking up on the drought, I've been tasked with watering the flowers.
Oh, okay. All right. Because the flowers do need water. Oh, it's a butterfly. Yeah.
Ivan Platt.
There's the Ivan. That's Mrs. Roz.
Okay.
Mr. Roz.
My wife and I, Rosalind, spent the last week in Chautauqua.
Okay.
We stayed at the Everett House. That's the Jewish.
A different lake. A different lake. Yes.
Right,
Yes.
Lake Chautauqua, but it's a.
But
won-
Chautauqua has shows and
it's a
concerts and
wonderful
lectures.
Community for lectures, and we saw an incredible rabbi, maybe you've heard of her, Sharon Roush
Ooh,
from
I went to school with her,
California.
yeah.
She gave,
Roush, I think with the B.
Roush, yeah,
Uh-huh.
Sharon
Mm.
Roush. And in fact, we saw Rabbi Josh and Alex there. They came
Lovely.
for a day to see her too, because she was their rabbi.
in LA.
Right.
And she gave some incredible sermons about
Wonderful. Oh, she's a great teacher. I've
Yeah.
been to her synagogue there
and
before.
she spoke about the, the war and, how it's
Sure.
necessary to also think about the Palestinians that are suffering
Yeah.
in all of this. And she made some beautiful comments. She had probably 500 people
Wonderful.
at the Hall of Philosophy.
So we have a lecture. Okay, we're gonna keep on passing the microphone.
And I recommend going to the Chautauqua. It's only 2 hours from here.
Mhm.
You don't go and have a great time.
Larry Rosner, a few weeks ago, we went kayaking, which we do
Good for
on
you.
a regular basis, perhaps 2 or 3 times a week. We were supposed to have gone to Hocking Hills, I think, coming.
Where did you go on kayaks?
We went to, Minnewago Falls,
Cuyahoga River. So it's a time to get out on the river, maybe a little float trip,
Yeah.
right? Or you could just watch the river float by.
Kayaking is not
Kayaking's not relaxing, Ron?
no.
Okay.
I'm going to Plotkin tonight.
I think lately for me, it's being with our grandchildren. And, just being with those young, beautiful, just watching them grow.
So on our little cruise up in Alaska, my wife actually got in the kayak. She's like, this isn't the most graceful thing. You don't have to exactly watch this, but I do need a hand here. But they had like a little dock which holds the kayak still when you get in and you get out of it. Makes it super easy because getting in and out is actually really the hardest part. Yeah, we just enjoyed like that. They were little what do you call them? They break the abalone on with a stone on their. What are those little? They look like little water mice. Otters, yeah, the otters were so much fun to watch. Good.
Ron Fursky, preparing Shabbat dinner for friends.
Right on. Shabbat with friends, so you can hold on to that one. Okay, so Shabbat. Well, so we're gonna start and end. So on this Shabbat, I hope we have it a little bit uplifting. And by the way, some of the prohibitions between the 17th of Tammuz and the Tisha B'Av, the all-day big fast day, destruction of the temple, are lifted. So this is a good time still to drink some wine. Maybe we won't have meat during the 9 days, except for maybe on Shabbos. So there's a whole debate as to how sad we should be. After all, the Jerusalem is unified and in the hands of our people again for the last number of years. So anyway, into Pinchas now. So Pinchas, the rabbis have a big argument. So he was clearly a zealot for our people, and there was a number of fights going on. What is this nation that we have? Who is going to lead the nation? Who is going to be the spiritual, who's going to be the God of this nation? Which parts of the nation are going to live where? So there's major challenges that the Israelites are having. They're coming out of Egypt. They're basically enslaved. They were told, you live here and you live there. Who's God? Pharaoh. Pharaoh has a bunch of other gods. You don't worry about that. Just do what Pharaoh's generals and taskmasters tell you to do, right? So now here it is. They've been wandering 40 years in desert, and now all of a sudden they realize there's a bunch of tribes that are not so friendly that are blocking the way into the land that God said, this is the promised land. Here's where you're going to go. Some of the tribes are like, you know what? The pasturage is fine here. Maybe we'll just stay on this other side of the Jordan, on the right-hand side, the eastern side, and some of the tribes do that, right? So, but however, all the rest of the tribes, they've got to fight to get into the land. So who are some of these nations that are blocking the Israelites, that are standing in the way? And how do they keep the Israelites from this promise that God has given them?
Philistines.
Okay, so there's the Philistines. They tend to be along the coast. Okay, who else is in the way?
The Moabites.
The Moabites.
They're the important ones.
All right, so last
At
week,
this point.
so last week we were studying the parsha called Balak, okay? And we learned about a Moabite king who says, I don't think I can stand up to the Israelites by myself, okay? I'm gonna need some help here because these armies, you can't even see their whole army. They're so big. I can go up on a hill. I can't even see all of them, right? So we've got to get some allies. So first, who does he ally with? But, well, that's his hired gun. That's his prophet. That's the magician he hires. But who does he ally with? The Midianites. Right. All right. So we're going to look inside. I picked out. Ruth will get you home soon. Let's look for the Midianites. All right. So who wants to read for me chapter 22? We're in the book of Numbers. Chapter 22, verse 7. Okay. So looking inside, same book of Bamidbar. Don't go to a different book of the Torah. Same book number 4. Okay, here comes the conquest. While you guys are looking, remember, God has said to Moses, talk to the rock, don't hit the rock, send out these spies. We're all getting ready. What's going to happen? Where are you going to cross the Jordan? How's this going to be? Who's going to fight? Who's going to be in the vanguard? These are all big questions. Did you find it?
What do you?
22, verse 7. Yes, that's right. Thank you. Read that verse, please. Okay, that's enough right there. So what are the elders doing? They're getting together, right? This is almost like these tribes are normally warring amongst themselves. The Midianites and the Moabites. So the elders, the leaders, these are their tribal chiefs and kings. They're making a pact. Why? Because they're threatened. Here come the Israelites. We've got to do something. And who is their God? Baal. That's right. What kind of God is Baal? He's a storm god. The thunder, he's speaking. And he comes from a place called Peor. That's like a cultic site where he has a cultic center and priests. And some of the Israelites are convinced, you know what? Maybe this Baal isn't so bad. What's his symbol? A golden calf, right? Right. And so the Israelites, maybe they have like horns on their altar. Maybe this is sort of the same God. It's not, right? But there's some, what do you call it when the religions are maybe meshed a little bit? Well, so some of the priests of Israel are saying, you know what? We shouldn't be mixing these religions together. This is a bad idea. Others like, you know what? Maybe it's not so bad. These are local gods in this local area. Maybe it wouldn't be bad to hedge our bets. I could put a calf on this one and I can put a calf on that altar too. I could pay a tax to this priest and give him a couple goats and I can give a couple goats to the other one also. Maybe I'm going to hedge my bets for my fertility, for my crops, for my children, for my family, for my health, for my war, okay. So, but the king, Balak, says, you know what? I got to harness some supernatural power here because clearly without a whammy, he could have asked Balaam, his hired sorcerer, bless us. Forget about the Israelites. Just give us blessings. Give us blessings. We can defend our lands. No. Instead, he's so full of hatred against the Israelites. He says, curse them. Right? And this is last week's Parsha. Does Balaam, in fact, curse the Israelites? No. He tries 4 times. Why doesn't he? That's right. I'm going to turn you into a talking donkey if you don't listen to me. Right? I'm going to kill you. Exactly. So he learns his lesson. And what does he do instead? He ends up giving this parable. The third eye opens and he sees, revelation into the future. He has these portents and he can see, I see all these nations around us getting crushed, right? He has whether it's the Philistines, whether it's the Canaanites, he's like, what's going to happen to Moab? Smack, right? The Israelites are going to crush the brow of Moab. This is the king who just hired him, right? Now, some of the Midianite chieftains have another way of trying to seduce the Israelite armies, okay? How do we take care of their soldiers and their generals? What are we going to do instead of fighting them head on? Okay, so we're going to send the women and the sorcerers to try to fight the battle for us. Okay, how does that go? How does that work out for them? Really? Okay, well, does it? What happens? Oh, so it starts to work. Okay, so in the beginning of Pinchas, who is it? Who is Cosby Batsor? What is going on here? She is a princess. She's one of the daughters of the chieftains of the Midianites. And who is also with her? Who's found in the tent publicly? This is a priest, by the way. Zimri's he's from the tribe of, I think is Reuben. Okay.
That doesn't make him a priest.
Well, no, from the tribe of Levi would make him a priest. He's like a leader of the
chieftain, maybe.
Yes, a
not
chieftain,
not
right?
a
Exactly.
priest.
Right. And by the way, does Moses see them going off to the tent? Does Moshe see that? Does he sees them, and does he kill them? No. Who sees them and kills them? Pinchas stabs them through. Okay. And God's message is impale, public impalement, put them on spears as a message. And what's the message supposed to say? It's not too subtle of a message. What's the message? Don't do it. Right. I'm a jealous God. I'm going to make what does God do to the Israelite people for whoring in Shittim? What is the penalty here for the people?
24,000
Yeah,
died.
plague, right? Disease, right? Comes riding down on the wind, and afterwards, so many people die. They have to have a census to figure out. Oh, do we still have 601,000 and some odd 670 fighting men? Oh, yes, we do. I think we're okay. But you know what? That was a tough lesson, right? And what does God say to the zealot and his family forever? Thanks, and I'm going to give you my pact of
Peace with a missing letter.
okay, peace and friendship. Exactly.
No, peace. I mean, the shalom has a.
The Shalom is
It's not written with
okay.
a
So
complete
Shalom.
letter.
Okay, like Jerusalem is missing a letter. Shalom. Okay, so so basically, let's say there are some divisions within the priestly group. Let's say that those 23,000 that don't have fields, they're going to decide who's going to be the leader. Is their leader going to be, I don't know, like the sons of Korach and Datan and Aviram and all of them, right? No. Instead, it's going to be Pinchas and his descendants. That's going to be the leader of the priests. And now the rabbis have major debates, right? Did he take the law in his own hands? Yes. Should he have done it? Maybe. But God says, you're blessed. You're blessed for that. Very troubling. Very troubling for the rabbis. So they're going to make rules around it and hedges against it. But in fact, so what do we think? Do we want the priests to be zealots? Do we want the priests to be judges? What do we want from our religious leaders? Moderation.
Examples of how to live in a very God-connected manner.
So uplifting. So do we want them running around with bloody spears? Not so much. Anybody else? What do we want from our priests? Uh-huh. Okay, good. Ron?
Everything in moderation, including moderation, which means sometimes there's a reason to go to extremes that are legitimate.
So, I mean, did the Israelites need to have public impalement? Did they need to see corpses around the camp as a reminder? So maybe they did need that. Mm. Oh, so okay. So we're going to bring up Netanyahu, not a priest of our people, but certainly a general, and not very popular in Israel. But when Israelis are polled, who would you rather have as prime minister? Nobody can come up with somebody better. So they're basically stuck with him, even though everybody, you know, I mean, the little parties in Israel are so fragmented that the person who's prime minister gets like 26% of the vote, and the person who's not gets 25% of the vote. I mean, that's how close it is, right?
Another problem that in this case, things are pretty clear because after you are talking with peace and friendship with the British president. But right now you've got that clarity, we don't have that kind of clarity.
Clarity.
You go once if this becomes history instead of current events. But on the one hand, you have people who will say, well, if they say we're going to sea, and they say explicitly they want to wipe us out, then don't we have to wipe them out first? And on the other hand, you have children starving.
Right. And the compromise is put up a big fence, and as long as they stay on their side of the fence, let them do what they want. Right.
I think for a lot of people, that's and that's in some ways public relations. That point,
No, they're not. It's not good. All right. So more on that thought in 1 second. Can I have a quick time check?
9:35.
Okay, so I still have a few more minutes. Well, let's see what happens to another one, for example, of these tribes that are stuck in between the Israelites who are coming out, fleeing from the Egyptians. No, by the way, the Egyptians are no longer chasing them. And the promised land, which by the way, has people in there, right? It's not empty, right? Canaan, there's Canaanites in there. Okay, so one of them is called Arad. Anybody hear of Arad or the king of Arad? Okay, so let's go to 21:3. So this is again in Bamidbar 21:3. Somebody want to read that one there? It's not exactly clear to me where Arad is, but it's somewhere on the other side of the Dead Sea. Okay. 21:3. Oh, 21. When the Canaanite hear about there. There you go. Somebody want just read from the beginning of 21. Wait, we got to get you a microphone. Okay. All right. So as you can see, I'm jumping around a little bit. So I'm in. The reason I'm jumping around here is the narrative is not sequential, right? So we have like interruptions for things like Shabbat, the new moon festival, Rosh Chodesh, all these other festivals and sacrifices, you know, the red heifer. There's a bunch of other stuff in here, which doesn't talk about geopolitics. Okay, please.
When the Canaanite king of Arad, who dwelt in the Negev, learned that Israel was coming by the way of Atharium, he engaged Israel in battle and took some of them captive.
Okay, hold on right there. So how do you demoralize your enemy? You engage them in battle. It's a hit and run tactic. You know you're not going to win the war, but you attack with your strength against where they're weak and you take captives. And what do you do with the captives? What do you do with them? You hold them in, you make them slaves, obviously, but you hold them as hostages. And what you're saying to them is, if you want your hostages back, you're going to leave us alone, right? You're going to let us alone, right? Take the hostages and hide them. Because if they know where they are, obviously they're going to come and rescue them. They're stronger, right?
But it's interesting that they never use the term captive now. It's always hostage. Today in Gaza.
So you could call them
the same.
You could call them war crimes. You know, it just depends who's doing the judging. But yes, right. So the Palestinians are holding hostages as a way of saying you can't. If you come here, if you act against us, we're going to kill more of your hostages. And by the way, they have been killing them. I mean, that's been happening. Oh, and also Israel is unified on this point. Do anything possible to get the hostages, whether it's make a deal or whatever. Everybody's in agreement on that. The timing of it is what they're debating, right? You know, do we ratchet up the military pressure in order to maybe get more of them out alive? I don't know, but pretty much everybody's on the same page on that.
Right, I mean, everyone, there's a consensus that they have to be destroyed as a political group.
Right.
That's the consensus.
Correct. Okay, so what happens? So the king of Arad, who had this great idea, here's how I'm going to keep the Israelites from crushing me in my little cities on their way to what becomes Israel. What happens to him and his hostages? Read the next sentence.
Then Israel made a vow to the Lord and said, if you deliver this people into our hand, we will prescribe their town.
What does that mean, prescribe their towns?
Kill everybody.
It's burnt. That's burn it all. Burn it all the way. Right. So now what happens with the Midianites, for example? Right? Is it okay if I jump ahead to next week's Parsha?
Sure.
I mean, I'm jumping around anyway, right? Does anybody mind?
Well,
Spoiler alert.
the problem with the Midianites is that Moses is married to one.
Okay.
And that kind of paralyzes him.
All right. So not only am I going to do a spoiler alert about the Midianites, but we're also going to find out what happens to Balaam, this prophet, this seer,
Right.
the guy who can see into the future, the magician who King Balak had hired. We're going to find out what happens to him too. Okay. So let's look at 31:8. 31:8. Maybe we're also going to do 31:16 in there. Okay. So I'm jumping ahead a little bit. So I'm also going to foreshadow King Hezekiah. Okay. If I were to jump all the way into 2 Kings, while you're looking for that, you would find that Hezekiah destroys all the foreign idols, all the foreign altars, all the foreign priests. He's getting attacked by the king of Assyria. Eventually, God makes a plague in the Assyrian camp and they all run away. But while the question is happening, one of the gods that Hezekiah wipes out is a snake god. It's a fiery serpent. Anybody remember where we've seen this symbol before amongst the Israelite army? What is it? It's sitting on top of a pole, like a flag, right? And if somebody's snake bit, they can look at it and get cured. That's one of the powers of that foreign god, right? Hezekiah's like, okay, so when the Israelites conquer Canaan, they're not successful in wiping out all those peoples. They don't put them to what was it called? Harem. Harem. They don't prescribe them with fire, right? It's kind of I guess you could say, a gradual assimilation. All right. So what happens? What happens to the Midianites and to Balaam? Anybody want to read for me? 31:8 or 31:16? Okay, please.
Along with their other victims, they slew the king of Midian, Avi, Rechem, Sur, Hur, and Reba.
Okay, so those are the chieftains of Midian. Okay, and who else?
The 5 kings of Midian, they also put Balaam, son of Beor, to the sword.
Okay, what happens to him? Off with his head, right? They put him to the sword. But did they kill all the Midianite women? No. There's a whole debate about this afterwards, and eventually they're convinced to kill all the non-virgins, but there's still 31,000 Midianite virgins who become basically, I guess, Israelites. There's different ways to become Jewish back in those times, and this is one of them. Right. So that's what happens. That's what happens to all these armies that get in the way of Hashem's decree. And what happens to the foreign gods? Also torn down and destroyed, and right, this the same thing for the most part, but some of them still remain. So the zealot is rewarded in this case. Okay, so now comes Tisha B'Av. So now comes the. I'm actually kind of glad that the summer camps are mostly winding down. Usually Tisha B'Av comes right in the middle of the Jewish summer camping season. This year we had like a leap month, so it pushed off the holidays a little bit. Everybody said, how come all the September holidays are in October? Well, they're not September holidays. They have to do with like okay, so fine. Exactly. They're Tishrei holidays. Exactly. But yes, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to find days to work in October. So yeah, so it goes. Okay, so we started our class this morning with some things that we can do that are uplifting. Tisha B'Av in camp is always hard because how do you keep the children from smelling so bad? You put them in the lake every day. You know, it's swimming. It's just part of camp. You know, so now they're going to be home a little bit earlier. So yes, it's time for vacations, but it's also time not to have such sadness. I think if we dwell too much on the sadness, then it's hard to be able to be stronger together with our families, with our communities. So what I would suggest, oh, this is interesting. I got a call yesterday from the Israel bonds. Okay, so you know the guys are in the office over here in Beechwood. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
So from time to time, like in November, usually they'll have a bonds dinner here. We have a chance to support Israel, buy some debt. By the way, it's an investment. It's not a gift to Israel. It gets paid back with interest, right? So they called me up and they said, you know, we're bringing out some of the Israel bonds leaders over to your synagogue there. I'm like, I'm not the rabbi here. So Rabbi Hal's the rabbi here. Ruth and Loria, they're going to have a dinner here, but are they going to serve meat? Okay, this is, I think it's August 1st or August 2nd. I forget what night it is. No. What are they going to serve instead? Salmon. Exactly.
Oh, boy.
Yep. Different kinds of fish. Yes, but yes, they'll have some different fish. So you want an opportunity to do something, you know, part of the community. I think you had to give a minimum gift. I don't know what it was. It's not exactly a gift. It's an investment. 25 grand, whatever it is. So this would be an opportunity to celebrate with members of other synagogues too, by the way. Will be here in the synagogue. So that's something that's happening. There are other things I think that are uplifting during the 9 days as well. It's hard. It's a challenge in our tradition between being sad and then so maybe we'll push off the wedding for another week. But anybody have any like births or celebrations or anniversaries? Maybe we can end on this note. Something else uplifting as we come into the 9 days. Anybody else have any grandchildren born or? Whose birthday is it? Happy birthday, Mayor. Any other things to celebrate? Yes, sir.
Which I'll never forget. She said, she was a realist. Son, this is bad, that's bad, this is challenge. Life is challenging, but never succumb to depression. Always look for the beauty in life and focus on that. Those were my mother's words. As I speak this, I can hear her saying that.
So we should enjoy the birds. We should enjoy the flowers. We should enjoy some of the Shabbos. We should do some more Torah learning. You see somebody on TV?
Nelson.
Call in, please.
Nelson, please talk.
There's been an upheaval in American politics this week. It looks like
Yes, sir.
the stalemate will be broken.
Yeah, one of our presidential candidates was almost killed. But yes, November will come and we will have a new president. Yes. Yes. Anybody else want to say something uplifting other than, yes, the end of this current political season does have an end in November?
Well. it
Or
might not
January,
end-
right?
It might not end until January.
Whatever it is. Okay. Good Shabbos, everyone. Good Shabbos. Who's going to be our